Good morning. It's nice to see you in person and it's nice to see. Good morning. It's nice to see everyone online also. Welcome to the April 23rd Landmark Commission meeting. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio Open Meeting Law and Section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings based on Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal from any case due to a conflict of interest should be stated prior to the beginning of the presentation. In order to ensure that everyone everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, virtual attendees will use the raised hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile versions and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and to be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking the raised hand icon again and muting your microphone. Call-in users can unmute using *6. All meeting activities are being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through the proper channels have been considered. Proper channels for comments are sending an email to the landmark@clevelandohio.gov email address with a comment or a letter, calling or leaving a message at 216-664-2532, or sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall located at 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 519. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the deadline are collected by Landmark staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. Mr. Musson?
And thank you, Madam Chair. To go through the meeting rules and procedures, the chair will call each agenda item and each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation is concluded, the chair will ask Landmark staff to summarize design review committee recommendations and any public comment received. The deadline for public comment is noon on the Tuesday prior to any regularly scheduled Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting. Any received comments are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
We'd like to call the April 23rd, 2026 Landmark Commission meeting to order. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Good timing. Mr. Dulick? Here. Councilmember Gray? Mr. Lozier?
Here.
Director Mersman?
Here.
Ms. Sabin?
Here.
Mr. Sambry? Here. Mr. Strickland?
Here.
Mr. Trasick?
Here.
Dr. Williams?
Here.
And Ms. Trott?
Here.
Madam Chair, we do have quorum. I'd also like to note that we have Jessica Beam and myself present from the Landmarks Commission office, and did want to make a couple notes on the agenda. We have a couple postponement requests. Case 26-027 for the certificates of appropriateness and the Landmarks nomination for the State Vocational Planning Center have both requested postponement, so we'll be seeing those at a future date.
Excellent. Then we will begin with our first applicant located 1786 Randall Road, window and siding replacement. We'd like to welcome our applicant to please announce yourself and tell us about your project.
Hi, my name is.
Oh, come on up.
Yeah, come. Front. If you just want to tap the little red rectangle there to turn on the mic.
Hi, my name is Riley Crum. I own the property at 1786 Randall Road. It's a duplex and I just got it back in around November. I got it and I was unaware of the historic, the way the historic works and that you're supposed to follow certain projects and everything. So Before I'd known it, I started replacing like the windows and siding and was informed by neighbors that I wasn't supposed to do that. I needed to go through the certain process. So obviously, I found a architect that helped me figure out the proper way to go around it. So you can see from the photo in the bottom left that I had started putting up the siding, vinyl siding, before I had learned that that was not allowed in the community.
A little, sorry, housekeeping, we didn't say this. Your slides are loaded. You can either use the remote in front of you to advance through them, or you can ask Jessica to move to the next slide.
Okay.
Just in time, Mrs. Megan. Join us.
Apologies.
We were just got the introduction to the project, and we were just about to go through the project details. So if you'd like to turn on your mic and just announce yourself, and then we'd love for you to tell us about your project.
Yes, Paul Began, Began Architectural Design. Obviously, you met Riley here already. Our story kind of starts with a car driving into the corner of this house. That damaged the corner kind of next to where you see the new fence in that upper left-hand picture right there. At that point, the repairs started, and instead of repairing the siding, Riley decided to do vinyl siding on the house and also replace the windows on the house. Obviously, partially through the project, we're kind of stopped because Riley was unaware he was in a landmarks district and needed to come here. So here we are. We met with staff. We met last week with the Ohio City Review or Near West Review. And our proposal as submitted right now is to put new or take out the vinyl windows in the front and the return side up to the front door and the small section of the front door. Replace those windows with either a fiberglass or aluminum clad wood window and remove and replace the vinyl siding on those same three facades with a LP Smart siding, which is similar to the fiber cement, and replace the trim at the corners and around those windows as well too. Vinyl siding would remain on the opposite side. That's difficult to see because of the apartment building right there, and the balance of the house kind of from where the corner is at that front door to the back, maintain the vinyl siding and the vinyl windows on those facades.
Do you have any further illustrations you'd like to show us?
We do have some drawings that indicate which portions, little bit difficult to see, but if you can tell between the half-tone line weight and the dark line weight of where the siding would be replaced on that front return side and the front door elevation, as well as those windows and the restoration of the trim around the windows at the corners and at the eaves.
Great, excellent. That is helpful to see. And then proposing to maintain the vinyl windows and siding on the three remaining elevations.
That is correct.
And your color choice?
As most of the siding is completed, we'll keep with the blue as far as the siding goes and switch the trim color to be a white trim color. So it'll be blue with white trim.
And the front material will color match the vinyl?
That's the intent,
paint.
right? Cohesive color throughout so that on a casual appearance of the house that it is cohesive, not looking to have any difference in that material color.
And the profile of the Composite, sorry.
Looking at doing, it would be similar to a wood clapboard siding, not, it would be smooth faced.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation. We will then move on to feedback from the local committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on the 16th. There was a lot of discussion on the appropriateness of white windows, regardless of the material, where a darker color would be preferred for the window sash. They had concerns about replacing the historic siding. Did it need to be covered or could it be repaired? And a preference for the LP siding to be used on the side elements, with no support for vinyl windows on any visible side, since the house has a few more visible sides than others, with comments on the south elevation and the front addition being consistent. The south elevation in front of the addition should be consistent with the front elevation of the material. And the window trim, comments that the window trim should be composite, ideally wood trim. Overall, there was just a lot of discussion about the appropriateness of the smart siding and the materials proposed. But the materials and locations seemed appropriate. There was a motion for the recommendation of the issuance of certificate of appropriateness as presented. That was not passed. It was a 0-7 vote.
All right, thank you for that summary and landmark staff recommendation.
We did receive public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
For this project, we received one emailed letter sent on Saturday, April 18th, regarding this project. Because it's just the one letter, I'll just read it. But it was put in the Dropbox for all of our commission members to review prior to the meeting. Says from Chrissy Wells, Landmarks Commission, I'm writing to express my opposition and deep dismay over the illegal work that has already been done and is now proposed at 1786 Randall. The home was one of the classic Ohio City homes in the historic district. New owner ripped out the historic windows to replace them with cheap white vinyl. Wood clapboard has been replaced with cheap vinyl, adding salt to the wound. The late previous owner was a neighborhood historian with special interest in our neighborhood's historic built environment. It is unfortunate that the investor chose to completely disregard the law, and this wanton criminality should be completely reversed. Commission should press on B&H to uphold the penalties against this owner. Otherwise, there's no point in having the historic district at all.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to landmark staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Mr. Began noted, I guess after we received some complaints and they applied for a permit, the applicant reached out to staff. We sat down with them and essentially, recommended going through the process and doing what they're doing here. We shared with them our window replacement policy and siding policy as well. So their proposal, in essence, meets both of those guidelines. It's always tough to deal with projects after the work has been done. You can see on the screen now, this is what it looked like before the siding went up. So there's some details in those, the arched window hoods. And so seeing those replicated, is I think a positive. We do have, I think, share some of locals' concerns and comments about the materiality of that. There was, as Jessica mentioned, a lot of discussion about the LP Smart side. That is a composite. Staff is comfortable with that material. So I think that the questions from local and the discussion within staff is sort of to what, where does that line stop? Where do you switch over to the different materials? And I think, we also feel that the white windows on the front elevation, whether they're aluminum clad, composite, or vinyl, I think a darker color would be more appropriate. So even if it doesn't match the rest of the house. So I think we'd like to see a darker color sash on that front elevation. Otherwise look forward to the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Then we will open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. If you'd like to start us off. Go ahead, Mr. Floder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a sort of a bigger picture question. So it was our understanding that the house was damaged by a car hitting it prior to you taking ownership. One of the challenges with putting up the vinyl siding is that we it's hard for us to understand how that damage was remedied and if it was remedied in the right way. Also understanding kind of just the building permit process as well. I think it's pretty consistent that any work to a home or residence needs to go through the building permit process. To just make sure that we're checking all the right boxes and going through the right channels. So my first question is how was that damage taken care of? And is there any follow-up that needs to happen with building and housing or others to make sure that those details are appropriate and the work was completed in the right way?
We used we like jacked up the house to support it, and then there was new stone put in and masonry done to support the spots that were falling down or like knocked out. The blocks were knocked out, and then the wood was just properly secured together to hold it into place.
Okay.
As you can see in the bottom left with the cinder blocks and everything.
Gotcha.
After it was the mortar set in place for like 2 weeks, then the jacks were removed to allow the building to sit on the blocks properly.
I think that brings up another sort of question. Is that just regular cinder blocks, or were they intended to match or not necessarily replicate? Because it looks like it's a stone foundation. But again, I think these are some of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing, right in the historic neighborhood, right? Vinyl is challenging because it's not a historic material. And in an ideal scenario, we would first and foremost, if the siding is in relatively good shape, painting is really the preferred option, and then replacement with a fiber cement, material that sort of is long lasting, and then sort of the very last, last resort is, and we've made accommodations for vinyl siding, particularly on non sort of street facing facades. Similarly with the wood windows as well, especially if we're replacing original historic wood windows. We want to make sure that we do everything possible to maintain as much of that historic fabric as possible to keep the neighborhood and keep the district as authentic as possible. So that said, so it seems like the proper precautions were taken when remedying the foundation work. So that's helpful. But I guess it's that would also need to be something that would have to be reviewed by a building inspector as well at the right sort of point in time. Okay.
And Mr. Lewis,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I did take a look at it. I think the structural issues have been remedied. Visual issues are why we're here to talk about it, but I think the house is, the damage was actually pretty extensive, right? Not just the corner on the stone, it actually messed up the corner of the house. And so that framing was replaced. Plywood was put back in to restore the sheathing to it. So structurally, the house is sound. Those repairs were done. Obviously, if the building department needs to look at that a little bit more closely, I think once the vinyl siding comes off that opportunity is there.
And that was gonna be my next question. So there's the vinyl siding. So does the house look as the photos
This
show?
is how it is right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then the sort of the discussion is removing the vinyl that's been installed on the front of the house and utilize the composite material on the elevations that you've identified.
Correct.
Okay. Those are my questions at the moment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Director.
I
Other
might have
questions and
more.
comments? Mr. Strickland, and then we'll get to you, Ms. Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, this is a situation where it's very unfortunate that the new owner of the house was not made aware during the purchase sale process that the house was in an historic district. before he started any renovations on the house. But I do agree that LP Smart Side is an adequate replacement siding material for the existing siding. Again, I agree with Commissioner Lozier that painting the existing siding would have been the preferred remedy. But LP Smart Side, given the damage to the existing siding, is an appropriate material. And I also agree with staff's recommendation that the window colors be a darker material. You could look at the existing photos and see that the original wood windows were a darker material. And I would like the applicant to submit the replacement window trim details to staff before those are implemented to make sure they're appropriate as replicating the details that existed previously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Strickland. Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I too want to apologize that you did not know going in that this was in a historic district and you started to undertake this work without that knowledge. I want to concur with the staff and my fellow commissioners regarding the color of the windows. They should probably be a darker color like the green I think that was shown. I have two questions. Are the windows the same size as the original? The ones that are being replaced?
Yes.
Okay, they're the same size. And my other question is regarding the front door. It looks like there's a brand new white metal front door on there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What was there before?
It was the same. It was a metal exterior
It
door
was
as
a
well.
metal. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Not wild about the. It looks like something that would be more appropriate for like the back of a house, but I would definitely want to not have it white. I think that sort of emphasizes it where I think it needs to be diminished, if not replaced with something altogether more appropriate.
For the color of the front door?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just hadn't been painted yet. We were just waiting until further if it was
Right.
produced to figure out what the most appropriate color would be for the front door.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Other questions and comments? Nope.
Good morning. Just a few clarifying questions. So the original siding is still under the new vinyl siding, is that right?
Yes.
And setting aside the damage from the car crash, what is the original siding's condition? Like, I guess I'm curious. In the photos, it looks relatively well kept.
From the pictures, it looks like it's looks pretty well quality, but when you get close and you're actually like touching the wood and everything, it's like falling apart and like it's hard to get it to even stay to the studs
Okay.
or the studs that are behind it. It's a lot of the wood like breaks as you're putting in nails or finish nails to get it to hold on to the studs behind the actual siding.
Okay. Thank you.
Just through the chair, just a question from staff. Are you comfortable applying would the LP Smart siding be applied over this siding? I guess I have concerns about vinyl siding or LP Smart siding being installed over something that's in that poor condition. If it's not holding nails, I don't want any new siding to fall off as well.
Yeah. I think that it makes more sense to remove it, but I wasn't sure exactly how the committee permits putting up the new siding. I thought I read something about like it's supposed to, you want to keep the original siding underneath, so I just wasn't sure exactly how to move forward with that.
So something to think about. I don't know if I have an answer to that right now, but I do have a question, so we'll keep the conversation. Maybe we'll come back to that. You have arched windows on the front. Obviously, the replacements have been rectangular.
Yep.
What's the intent in the future? And how have you resolved it on the interior? Because I'm assuming your trim was arched on the interior?
From what I remember, I don't think there was any arch trim on the interior, but
Ah,
It's just
oh, okay, okay.
the trim itself.
Right, sorry. Okay, so the trim itself was arched, but the window was rectangular originally. And when you replicate this, are you doing the same details?
yes.
Okay, so, which I think is good, is needed. It's one of the beautiful, although it's almost an optical illusion, it fooled me. Yeah, and so I would say, what is the material that the shroud, or not shroud, I'm saying the wrong word, but the window trim surround will be? Will that be a composite also?
That would be composite also. LP Smart Siding does have compatible trim that's going to go with it. We did talk with staff about some other trim options, and that seemed the most appropriate. So if it will be composite or fiber cement in either case.
Routed to match the profiles that were there.
That is the
originally.
intent. That
Okay.
will, for these elevations, obviously, we're showing that being replicated. We need to, obviously, as recommended by one of the members, right? We'll do some more detailed drawings that have some more dimensions and add it so that that detail is apparent how it's going to be constructed. But the intent would be to replicate what was there prior.
Good. I think that, we'll add that character back that people are missing right now.
Mhm.
And I would agree with the changing the window color to being a darker color. We'll leave that to you, what color you'd like to bring back to us. And I am comfortable with staff defining or approving that final color. But I would recommend painting inside, the new trim piece so that to match the window color that you select so that it does have that same illusion that, fooled me, that it's not an arched window, and it maintains that character of the front. But related to the extent of the composite, oh, and then I'm sorry, you did say the corner boards will be replaced.
That is correct. So the intent is to have the corner boards replaced as well as the eave trim.
Perfect. And so those all be painted to match the cream color, the trim color?
Yes.
Okay. I think the transition points I'm fairly comfortable with, if those corner boards are also replaced to provide that clean transition from one material to the other, especially because we know the profiles will be slightly off between the two. The darker, but requiring the darker sash, the details of those windows trims submitted, and then, the front door, your recommendation that is probably painted to match the window color
windows.
so that it keeps it a fairly simple palette. It maintains or, improves it's similar to what was there before too, but in a new color palette. So with those, things, I'm fairly comfortable with the direction that you're going. Other questions and comments? Mr. Lozier?
Yeah, sorry. You might want to take, again, going through the permit process, you may want to take a look at requirements for front doors. I don't know if something in the back of my mind is saying that we might be required to have some level of glazing in that door for visibility, but I don't recall specifically. So that might just be something just to double check to make sure that we're falling within the code, within the sort of zoning ordinance, building code ordinance. Is just another sort of, sorry to keep sort of asking these questions,
No.
but are the original window trim still behind the vinyl siding, or were those removed?
They are not. Those
Okay.
were removed.
Okay, so we'll do our, best to sort of replicate kind of what was there previously. Okay.
We have some good photographs
Okay.
of them that I think are going to be enough to put together a reasonable facsimile of what was there before.
Great. And then going back to the siding for a minute, I think what would probably be helpful too is if to understanding the quality of the site of the existing siding today, and if it's consistent, you know, all the way around the home where it's, you know, in pretty bad shape, we're not able to hold nails, then maybe we would, you know, working with staff, figuring out the best sort of, you know, way to handle applying the new siding. It may just be you know, replacement of a few of the boards that are in poor shape. Because again, as Mr. Musson had said, you know, we don't want the substrate to fail, and then the, you know, whatever the new siding is to fail as well. So just thinking about that as part of the process as well. So I think that's it for me.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Musson?
And thank you, Madam Chair. I did just want to note for the record, since there'd been some question about it, on October 2nd, 2025, it looks like the certificate of disclosure does note that this was or is located in a historic district, just for the record.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Other questions and comments? Would someone like to make a motion? Would someone like to make a motion? Are there additional questions and comments that are required to make your motion? So could you please ask them? Mr. Lozier?
Follow-up question. So this will help me, you know, with a potential motion. So this went through local design review committee. They denied the certificate of appropriateness. I guess instead of tabling that and going back to that review board, why was the decision made to move forward with the vote and then come to us versus having this conversation with local, revising, and then representing to the local design review committee?
The discussion at the local design review was the direction that that committee was comfortable with was extending the replacement of the siding on the rest of that visible side. Their concern was that that is just as visible as the other portions of the facade. And so replacing the windows and the trim and the siding along there was so I think we probably could have gotten an approval if we had conceded to those concerns. So that's why, since it was pretty apparent that they were not going to kind of budge on that, we thought we would have them take their vote, understanding where their direction was going to be to come here.
Thank you. I appreciate the context there. I guess my follow-up question then is, so you would be opposed to continuing the LP siding on the sort of the peaked roof portion that we're seeing in the lower elevation? Is that correct? And that was really what the sticking point was?
That was what the sticking point. And again, right, this is a situation where it would have been better had we gone through this before. You know, work has started. Those windows have been purchased, replaced, and installed. The siding has already been purchased, most of it installed along that facade. So it's really, you know, more of a financial issue of undoing work that's been done to do that. Obviously, you know, if this committee is okay with those front facades being replaced, I think that would be best for the budget for the project. In all honesty, that's where we're at with this particular project.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Director?
Um, I think this is for you, Riley. I mean, part of, I presume, what led you to purchase this house is the historic charm of the house and the neighborhood, right? That's an assumption.
Yeah.
That is what many people choose this neighborhood for. And I think we all wrestle with the financial obligations of maintaining these really old homes. But what part of what makes them worth maintaining is that historic charm and nature. I also struggle with the, I mean, you know, in the real estate listing, both sides, it's sort of that corner shot of the house. Both sides are very apparent. I don't think it will look that good either to have like vinyl and composite mixed there. And I guess I just sort of wonder from your perspective as the homeowner here, you're living here, is that correct?
Yes.
And sort of what your desires are for the historic home in the historic neighborhood that you chose.
I agree. I think it will look kind of interesting to have vinyl meeting the like LP smart siding in the front. Obviously we want to like get through it, like get it done in a timely manner as well. And I'm trying to like keep in touch with like that. I only have like limited funds to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the idea is not to not do as much and everything. I guess part of what was hard for me is that I actually lived in Ohio City previously,
Mm-hmm.
and like one block up the road in the house that I lived in was vinyl siding. So I mean, I knew it was historical, but I didn't know that there was all this stuff that went with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just assumed based on the house that I was living in that vinyl was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to this, I do think it will look kind of weird to have the vinyl meeting up to the thing. I guess I think it would be okay to replace that side, that long side, with the LP smart siding as well. But do you think that if that was done, that it would be possible to keep like the vinyl windows on that side as well? So it would be like the LP smart siding, and then those windows would stay vinyl, but then the front is changed to like aluminum clad.
I mean, I think your point is a good one that we should consider the siding and the windows separately and make recommendations on those separately. I have, so good point for the commission to consider. I have one additional question, which is just that it seems like, you know, the generous interpretation here is that you did not have very good contractors working for you that should have gone through the permit process and been routed here directly. And that also makes me interested in a secondary professional opinion about the condition of the existing siding and sort of what is it an urgent or emergent need to fix right this moment, or is that something that could be rehabbed to sort of alleviate some of your budget issues about totally replacing with composite? Is there some sort of hybrid that is existing, current, historic with composite where it needs repaired on the frontage? It just feels difficult to me without knowing a little bit more about the urgent needs of the home from sort of a livability perspective. So that's one thing I'm struggling with here. I'll just say that.
Thank you, Director. Any feedback, Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your candor about not only the cost, but your candor about the fact that the neighborhood, the local design review committee felt strongly enough to do a 0-7 vote about the importance from the building itself and the neighborhood context of that 3/4, the real estate brochure shot of this home being consistent at the very least with the siding, because I believe that's a direction that makes the most sense, and it seems like it does the best to honor it without being onerous. I think Director Mersman's point about the windows being separate, especially because, and this would be a clarification from staff, that the side elevations wouldn't necessarily, we have allowed vinyl windows on side elevations, this one being more visible. So thinking about is the front windows, that essential historic character of the arched trim with the windows that had a darker color. That just seems like that is the image of the home and is really important to honor. Through the chair to the applicant, is the proposal to have the non-vinyl windows, the acceptable material windows, whether they're vinyl clad or composite, where would those be proposed to stop under your current proposal? On that facade that has the door?
Yes, yes. So the forefront windows, the single window up on the left side, and then the window above the door.
Okay. Thank you. So the condition of the home, from that perspective, the only dark windows were on the front. Is that correct?
How it was previously?
Yeah, if we can go back, please, to the pictures of the home before. Or were all those based, so all the windows were dark previously? Okay, so the proposal is all the windows, starting with the one above the door, would be the dark composite material. And then in this idea that's on the table of the replacement of the siding to be consistent along both of those facades all the way to the back of the building. So the change would not be so much the windows anymore. The change would then be the windows from the dark to the light, but that the siding would remain consistent. I mean, that's one potential compromise that I think is on the table. Is that makes sense to the applicant? As something for us to consider?
Understood.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Thank you. I'd be curious what my fellow commissioners
Right.
have to say.
And Madam Chair, just so that the discussion is complete, we don't have to go back to it if this compromise is something that might move forward. We do have this weird addition, obviously not original to the house. Is, I think, part of the discussion needs to be what materials on the face of that as well too.
Great, thank you for making sure we close all the open items. Mr. Lozier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's been a lot of discussion, I think a lot of really good discussion, and thank you again for being sort of candid with your responses and willing to sort of work through this sort of in real time. We've discussed a lot of things, so we can, there's sort of one of two ways that we can sort of move. One would be, is there the opportunity to make adjustments to this presentation based on this discussion that sort of are comprehensive of the outcomes of this discussion, and then you represent that to us at a later date, just as a collective cohesive package. So we would table it today to give you time to be able to do that. Or we can try to trace through all of the different, pieces, parts now. And hopefully we catch everything. So I guess, from my perspective, for my own just housekeeping and sort of understanding of things would be to table. But I don't know how my other colleagues feel about that as an opportunity, and the applicant as well.
The things the open items or what I have heard, which may be right or wrong, of modifications or additional things that would be required related to this approval if it moves forward, and is successful would be details of the window trim submitted for staff to review and approve, a darker colored window sash for the composite windows to be submitted to staff for approval, the door painted to match the window, composite siding is, and these two items are the ones that we're talking now, composite siding on the entire, I think that's the north elevation, is that right? Is
South elevation.
south elevation, south elevation. And then the open item that Mr. Began just brought up is, you know, is the addition inclusive of that, what we're recommending for the south, or is that standalone? Is that's what I've noted that we've sort of been talking and working through, because the aluminum clad windows or fiberglass are already included in the proposal for the areas that we've referenced. The trim replacement has been referenced and will be moved forward with, and that the composite. Yep, no, that one's just me, a random thought. Yeah, so those are the two main things. Oh, and the trim boards was what also, you know, were some of the open questions that it seems like those are all part of the proposal that's been submitted. So I would ask this table, we have to be clear what they're responding to. If it's more detailed than that, I do think we owe them a decision or recommendation on, you know, how we view the addition. Mr. Lozier?
Madam Chair, I think and you may have said this, but I may have missed it, would be the maintaining the vinyl. So I guess maintaining the vinyl windows on the south elevation as installed, but rethinking the siding portion of that.
Correct.
I think the other thing that Director Mersman brought up too was understanding if the siding truly needs replaced, or could it be repaired and painted? That would take a little bit more sort of investigation, which I think is where my
Let's be.
the question in my mind. too, so.
Sure, sure. So I think what we're saying is that if the wood siding is in acceptable condition, we would be open, and forgive me if you can correct me if I'm not summarizing this correctly, is we'd be open to maintaining that wood siding and having you repair and repaint it. You know, obviously the original material is always our preferred if it can be repaired appropriately and, you know, finished appropriately. If not, then we're open to replacing it. So we're not requiring you to do the LP siding, unless we would be open to maintaining it and having you repair and paint it. Is that what you're saying for all the areas where we are talking that the LP siding to be proposed? You know, be an all or nothing though, right? You know, we don't want 3 materials on it. We want just 2. Oh, that's it. So.
Yeah,
Mr.
and
Munson?
Madam Chair, I did just want to add, if, you know, this moves forward and the vinyl siding is removed, staff is happy to come out and look at the siding that's underneath with you to sort of help evaluate the condition and give any recommendations if that's helpful.
Okay.
Follow up, Mr. Musson. I understand that the staff's concerns as well as with that siding. Obviously, it's covered over right now, so we couldn't get a good look at it. My concern, and I've seen many of the houses in the historic districts here in Cleveland, that the siding is actually applied directly to the studs and there's no sheathing, of which the siding then is acting as the sheathing. So removal of the siding could cause structural instability. So yes, that's one of the concerns that we have as well too. When the siding comes off, we will be evaluating that.
Okay, let's just close the open item and then we'll ask for, you know, a motion related to the addition. If we, Mr. Strickland? Thank you. You're muted. Mr. Strickland, you're muted.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to note that, you know, from my experience, I'm sure the experience of the architect and maybe many commission members as well, is that once this vinyl siding was applied to that old clapboard siding, it's going to severely compromise that siding. And I think removal of the vinyl siding is just going to expose that original underlayment, the original clapboard siding is going to be all cracked and, full of nail holes. And I think you're going to find that it's really been compromised. And so I just want everybody to be aware that that's the practical reality based on the fact that the vinyl siding has been applied over so much of this house to this point. So I would be comfortable with the LP Smart Side going on as a replacement with all the other conditions that have been outlined so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strickland. Any other questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry, the addition, back to the addition. We didn't answer that one. I am comfortable with the vinyl remaining on the addition based on the distance from the street front and it changing plane from the south addition or south elevation, and turning perpendicular. But so that it could maintain what I'm assuming is probably already installed, the vinyl. Yeah. On that, if it is color matched. Other feedback from the commission? So with having no comments, I would assume that we would agree as a commission that you can maintain that material on that addition, but thank you for making sure that wasn't open. So, all right. So with that clarification, would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Lozier?
Madam Chair, I will make a motion. I might need your notes.
Can you read my hand?
To approve as presented with the requirement that
Details of the windows.
details of the window trim be submitted to staff for review and approval.
Darker colored window sash.
Darker colored window sashes on the front facing elevations as described. So the four on the sort of the main front elevation, the smaller window on the left, and the window above the door. Door colored to be painted to match the windows.
Composite on the entire side.
And the composite siding material on the front east elevation and full south elevation of the building.
Excluding the addition.
Excluding the addition. Addition as presented in vinyl, and the remaining replacement vinyl windows on the south elevation that weren't discussed.
One clarification,
Yes.
the remaining windows on the south elevation can remain vinyl? Is that
Correct.
what you're stating with that comment?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a motion with conditions. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We have a second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Councilmember Gray,
I wasn't in here for the whole hearing, so I'm gonna
abstain.
abstain, yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Ms. Saban,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Rassick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes by a vote of 10-0 with one abstention.
All right, well, congratulations, you've been approved.
Thank you very
If you have any
much.
further questions, feel free to reach out to staff for, as you're working through your details and taking off the siding. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you. All right, we will not be reviewing the second due to the owner asking to be requested postponement. So we'll move on to our third applicant located at 5013 Franklin Boulevard, new construction.
Hello, Landmarks Commission members. My name is Brent Cornell, and I'm representing Cluja Create, the designers of this project. And the GC is also on the line, as well as the owner, William, the GC, Chris Salerno. So we've been here before, and we did get approval of the historic district. And so we're now presenting it to you guys based off of your guys' recommendations from the last meeting. So here on the first slide, you can see the site plan. Sorry, let me try to maximize this. I can just see it better.
We control the slides on our side, so you should see them on your screen. So I don't think we can zoom in anymore, but we can advance whenever you need us to.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it was a personal viewing window thing, but thank you. So yeah, you can see the site plan and the relevance of the property and parcel relevant to the space of Ohio City. Can you move to the next slide, please? Here's some site context of very similar buildings and aesthetics for on the main road. You have your Italianate styles on the top left, some transitional Victorians, and then a new build on the far right, top right. So these are just some styles that we're trying to compromise with and influence our current design. Next slide, please. This is a bit out of order, but that's fine. So this is a reference of what we were trying to achieve. Based off your guys' comments, a street perspective would be very useful in representing the house design in its current location, and that's what we provided here. The top three are the proposed house development. You can see the front structure mainly, and what it's achieving is that overall it's providing the grandeur and kind of diminishing the back structure, which was a major concern with the historic district as well as you guys. So you can kind of see based off the street perspective, like there's only a short window where you can actually see the rear now townhome, not townhome, but two-story, two-dwelling duplex in the rear. So it's very limiting, and I think that the size of the front house achieves what we're trying to show based off the other homes in the area. And then on the bottom, just as a frame of reference, I think it was very useful to show neighboring structures and trying to compare those elements. So on the bottom left, just going off Google Street View and frame of reference of time, this was a renovation project, I think in like 2016. And then the second one to the right was just a complete new build. That was an empty development in 2014, and then by the Street View in 2019. It was developed, and then for historical reference, this house remained relatively the same. The 18, I can't entirely read it, 27 50th Street. So those are just some referring houses, and I can dive more into the details when we get to the next slides of why we try to use a lot of those features. Thank you for transitioning. So here is our zoning plan. In the interim from our previous meeting with you guys, we did reach out to zoning and got feedback from them on potential zoning violations in which we've corrected course. And you can see them listed in the top left where we adjusted our site plan to the best of our ability, right, to achieve what we could with limiting the amount of variances. So we out of those like 10, we're only going to apply for 4 variances now. I think the main one that would be concerned for you guys would be number 2, which would be the attached garage on the interior lot. So the required amount of 71-foot setback and a 9-foot screening by the main front structure. We achieved a 63-foot 10-inch setback and a 6-foot 1 screening. So we are going to have a variance of a 2-foot 11 screening. But I think the main objective is, one, we're accomplishing not a snout home. You know, we don't have the garage on the front of the house, and we're doing our best that we can with the lot configuration to provide a 2-car garage, but also minimize its exposure. And you can see that with the line of sight line really trying to drive away that there might be a very small window of time where someone from the street can actually see that rear garage, while the other garages for the duplex fall within the minimum requirement of that 71 feet. So that's like the most critical, I think, variable with regarding the variance that complies with you guys. And the other ones are just more or less setbacks from other structures that we were obviously a challenge in this historic district with developing in the close proximity. So those are the other variances that we'll be taking to zoning, but those were the specific items that I think are necessary for your guys' review. Can you please proceed to the next slide? Here's a just a landscaping plan. I saw that this was required for the final review for the urban forestry. So it's simple, but touching, trying to match characteristics of the other spaces, focusing mostly on the front curb appeal. So just some mulch beds, some perennials, Korean boxwoods, and just like overall inviting the space. You can also see here we emphasize the pendant or the sconce lighting that would be visible. You can see them in the dark black, which the next slides will present it in a more detailed manner, but you can see them in a floor plan layout, as well as the consideration by you guys to have a more inviting walkway from the main road to the back duplex. So we're providing stamped concrete along the drive. Now it will have to be the same plane as the drive, given that we have two living dwelling spaces in the back. So to meet that 10-foot minimum width, we just provided the whole drive as 10-foot wide all the way to the back. But perception-wise and visually, I feel like that that stamped concrete walkway provide a nice path for the residents in the back, and then as well as just some landscaping notes. So next slide, please. Here is some more detailed visual representation and texture and color of the materials that we are proceeding with or proposing. We got the Navajo sage lap siding, some slate gray lap siding, slate gray panel siding, and then essentially some sage green shaker siding, as well as the asphalt, the Arctic white trim that we'll be suggesting, and then the light fixtures that I previously mentioned on the last slide. So moving forward, just try to keep a mental note of those colors because I know their renderings can sometimes not do it entirely justice. So next slide, please. Here's the elevations of the front single-family dwelling. So based off your guys' comments, a main one was window proportions, as well as the gable facing the road to match the other characteristics of other homes, and that's what we provided here. So we rotated the gable 90 degrees. We also kept the front pediments on the front door and the one on the second floor. The proportion of that sliding window, we removed that. It was awkward. We provided this single picture window, and then to keep that style going, we placed it on the actual front gable just to kind of provide some unification on the front facade. As well as the proportion of the bottom windows of level 1 being more long and rectangular, and then keeping them in line, but more squatty on the second floor. Once again, another feature in a lot of the neighboring homes. So you can see the shaker green on the gable front, as well as that Navajo beige lap siding for the remaining areas. We're still going to do the black composite windows with the Arctic white trim throughout. So all the like shaker skirting on the front, that's going to be that Arctic white, covering any of the CMU or foundation that might be exposed. So that was the intent there. You can also see the elevation and location of those sconce exterior lightings, providing just proper lighting for the residents. And yeah, this is I think a more targeted rendition of what you guys kind of expected, and really appreciate you guys' feedback. I think it's a more appropriate home altogether. Next slide, please. Here's the rear duplex structure. So we remove the horizontal trims based off your guys' recommendation. Just a lot going on, visually confusing, as well as leaning more into the modern characteristics of the structure. Removing the corbels, it was a bit lost in an actual design approach. So we removed the corbels, removed the horizontal trim, leaned into more of the vertical facades, and this is what we have now. Conventional windows, being that it is like the rear back, so just double hung windows, single car garage, and so we have the panel gray slate siding on the bottom, and then just alternating gray slate and the Navajo beige horizontal lap siding up above. Overall, a simple design, but as well as keeping some of the characteristics of the front home, like the columns, just to provide some unification on the actual property. But overall, we're keeping all of the major aesthetic components to the front house. Next slide, please. This is just a elevation view of those two structures together. Top one being from the driveway, seeing both the structures, and then the other one from like the fence line on the back side of the house, which is very limited space, but just for a frame of reference. Next slide, please. Floor plan, just included it as a frame of reference, but I know it's not necessarily a driving review process for you guys. So next slide, please. Townhouse, or sorry, rear duplex floor plan. Next slide, please. And that completes the presentation.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our comments, we'll start with Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on the 16th. The committee members were very appreciative of the comments that they'd made previously being addressed in the new plan, and so made a recommendation for the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness as presented.
All right, excellent. And landmark staff recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess like local, staff is appreciative that the applicants have taken into account the comments from the commission and the local design review committee and made those changes. One area or note that we wanted to point out is the in the gables, the use of the hardy siding. I'm not sure if what you're proposing is a factory finish, but we'd recommend using a factory finish product, just that powder coating. It provides more durable finish. If you're looking for a green, the mountain sage might provide a nice deep, rich green in those areas and still allow you to have a factory finish and get that durability. But don't know if you're working with a different color palette that doesn't include that or not, but just wanted to point that out. But otherwise, we're supportive of the project and would recommend approval.
Great, excellent. Then we'll open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Who'd like to start us off? I guess I'll start us off. I would echo what the local said. We appreciate you taking our feedback and incorporating into the design, and do feel that, you've made great strides and really, really like the direction you have gone. So overall, I'm in full support of the project. Are there questions and comments from the commission? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry I was not here on the 12th, so I could not comment during the schematic review. I'm okay with the overall design. I think it's appropriate. I think it incorporates a lot of elements of the surrounding houses, which I'm glad to see. The shake look shingle, which I believe is a hardy product. I guess I don't really like the variegated lengths. I think in this area, the shakes would be like horizontal application, where everything is pretty much on the same level. And as I often do, I don't like the grayscale and the black roof. I think there's such a preponderance of the use of, the gray in this area that it's just overdone. I'm also concerned about the Arctic white, about it being too bright. I think a more bone or an antique white would be more appropriate. And lastly, this is a little out of our purview, but I know that there is, everybody wants to maximize the space that they have on the lots, but I think as far as practical livability, it's important to have more yard space. I think it's easier for people to maintain their residence and stay in the structure if there's, a place where they can let out the dog, a place where the kid can play, a place where you can, like I say, plant a tomato or something. And I don't really see much of that here. I don't see much open space or green space for residents to enjoy. So that is a real concern of mine. I know everybody seems to love density, but I think it's being overdone. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Other questions and comments from the commission? Mr. Julick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pardon me. I don't want to echo the sentiments expressed by staff and design review committee in appreciation of the thoughtful response to a lot of our comments. It's so close. So in my mind, it's almost close enough. If it were close enough, I would say, well done, but I'm going to say, make some suggestions on further refinements. I would not say I would make it a requirement, but that it's a recommendation, clearly within staff reviews, sensibilities and abilities. So if we just look at the elevations again quickly. Yes, thank you. I still feel that the overall proportions feel a little bit off. And I think it still has to do with, I recall making the comment earlier about the height of the porch relative to the height of the story above. That may even include the slope of the roof over the porch. Feels a little, still feels too tall to me, and still feels like it wants to come down. Like even the equal proportion of, there's something about the upper story that wants to be at least equal, if not a little taller than the ground floor. Another thought, I hadn't thought of this in the prior presentation, but I think that there's a house in one of the other context photos you showed where there is a difference between the expression of, I'll call it the skyline or the upper gables, and the expression of how the porches work out. And I hadn't noted it before, but I'd note it now. I don't know if we can take a minute to go back to those slides of the context, which we again really appreciate, and putting it in context, that you did that really is a wonderful thing. You can see how close it is based on the upper right. But there was the house there on the lower left that I think may have some clues. I think it's okay to have a different gable size than the upper gable on that house on the upper left image. And again, these are suggestions and thoughts for just further refining what I think is a really well thought out and on the verge of exemplary way of thinking about how you do a more modern version of contextual design. So I even noticed that the porch is different than the one on the lower right too. I think there's a variety. I think part of the history is not only being okay, but it gets to that old way of seeing of there's kind of the gable doing what it needs to do and then the porch doing what it needs to do. So I feel it may be more modern to have the gable that's on the upper part on that right-hand entry bay matching that. I'd like to see what a lower gable and perhaps a more appropriately proportioned square window above it as a thought that I would like to suggest exploring. And then the concomitant study of the proportions to get those upper window proportions on the front facade just a little bit better. Again, these are very minor suggestions, and I hope you don't take them as criticism. They are offered in the spirit of making, I think, a exemplary effort even better. You are so close, and I believe with staff help, you can really get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dulick. Other questions and comments, Mr. Lozier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in complete alignment with what Mr. Dulick has mentioned. So I won't sort of belabor that. I think it's so close, but am 100% in agreement with my fellow commissioner on that one. So those essentially sort of are my comments. One of the things that I wanted to applaud you with this presentation is the 3 images on the top of this particular slide. This clearly shows this, this structure in context in a very real way. And so I wanted just to applaud you and the team on this. If all of the applicants could come across this board with renderings in this way, I think it would help the conversation, every single conversation tremendously. So in full agreement with my colleague on the comments about the proportions of the front house, but just wanted to highlight how successful sort of those 3 images up top are to the context of this particular discussion. So thank you, and kudos again for listening to us previously and really incorporating a lot of the discussion that we had in our last conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lozier. Other questions and comments from the commission? Someone like to put forward a motion? Oh, question? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question is maybe kind of outside of the scope of commission, but at the last conversation we had about this on March 2nd, or March 12th, there was some questions raised about the parking that is currently on this piece of property. And I recall that the property owner owns both this piece of land and the property right next door, and that the tenants in that property were parking at this location. So I guess I was just wondering if there has been any kind of resolution or decision made by the applicant on that front.
The plan was like in their contract with the tenants that do live on the space. That was never part of their contract as like provided parking. They were just using the land that was accessible. And as the owners mentioned, it's not even a lot of the times the tenants that park there. It's just local inhabitants or people that shouldn't maybe even be there. So as so many other residents in the area, street parking is going to be a requirement. And I understand that's a struggle naturally, but I mean, that's urban living, right? It's either you have to walk or drive, and it's not always guaranteed. Like even the bottom right house, unless you have a carriage parking in the back. But that's just something that they kind of took upon themselves living on the property. And it's not to be by any means like cold or anything. That's just the reality of living in an urban environment. So that's the situation specifically on the parking and the current residents that live there.
Is that your complete, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before making a motion through the chair to the staff, would any motion also want to include support for variances?
Yes, yeah, if the commission's supportive, I would recommend referencing that in a motion. Yep.
Okay. With that, unless there are any other questions based on that, I guess I would like to make a motion to approve as presented with the recommendation that the applicant submit further studies of the proportions of the, pardon me, the front porch, the windows, and the porch slopes, particularly the front gable and the related window, to Landmark staff for review. Would require that Landmark staff have final review as well for all of the colors and materials. And that this motion should include support for any variance requested by the applicant of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Dulick. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Samberry. So we have a motion, second. Any further discussion? I guess is the applicant clear of what the comments were about lowering the porch or adjusting the pitch of the gable pediment over the door? Is that clear to you? You understand that?
Yeah, that's very clear,
Okay.
especially referenced with the two photos. I guess my main concern is the portion of the second floor. I mean, just based off that bottom left referencing image, it appears that the first floor might be a little bit taller, and approximately maybe a foot, based off the window proportions, and that's what we were trying to compare to. The first floor living space being 9 foot, second floor space only being sleeping areas. Naturally, you don't need that vaulted space; it's inefficient and whatnot. Maybe it is the roof pitch and these gable pediments that you're describing that maybe throws everything off. But I don't know. Is that still a driving concern that we raise the second floor to 9 feet, or is 8 feet acceptable? I think that's the only unclear thing I'm landing on.
So I think I'll see, you can work with staff to refine this. I think it's more the proportions of the front windows, probably the sill height more than it is the head height. And if lowering that porch down some may allow you more height in that window by default, so that you get not changing the height of the house, just the porch and how its impact on your window height. And or the pediment over the door, how it's impacting, especially that window over the door. So I think studying that, but staff can give you a little bit more feedback on that offline.
Okay, no, definitely. Thanks for clarifying that.
All right, so any further discussion on this?
I do have a question. I'm Chris Salerno, the general contractor representing the property owner. So would it be that simple if we do in fact just raise that second floor to 9 feet? Wouldn't change anything with the looks. I mean, to me, it's a minimal cost upgrade and change and make everything concentric first floor to second. Would that be enough? Would that be good?
I don't think we can answer you right now without seeing it. I think it's a little bit of refinement there. If you submit it to staff with that proposal, or just lowering the height of the porches and or the sills of the second floor windows to see if that slight adjustment addresses our concerns. And then if they don't feel comfortable, they'll kick it back up to us to decide. But I think it's just, if you do those studies, then staff can finalize that with you.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Lozier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think just to maybe clarify a little bit more, I think, what we're talking about is, divorcing the height of the porch from the interior floor levels. So if you're thinking about just lowering the height of that porch down may give you a little bit better proportions with the upper windows. And again, as what Mr. Julick had mentioned about studying sort of just the overall proportions. I don't think we're asking you to raise any floor levels or any heights. It's really just the sort of the porch as it sort of attaches to the front of the house. That could be divorced from what's actually going on with the floor levels inside.
Yes, that makes sense, especially looking at those other referring photos. The actual bottom ceiling of the porch is definitely closer to the door and the windows versus our visual representation in the elevations. So it's understood. Thank you.
All right, excellent. All right, not seeing any further comments, then Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Hey, Ms. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Dulick?
Yes.
Councilmember Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Lozier?
Yes.
Director Mersman?
Yes.
Ms. Saban,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trassick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes by a vote of 10-1.
All right, congratulations. We look forward to seeing your project move forward.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you very
guys.
much.
We'll now move on to our next applicant located 10022 Madison Avenue, storefront renovation.
Madam Chair, I will recuse.
Madam Chair, same for me. Mersman.
Thank you.
Madam
Good
Chair.
morning.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Sorry.
You can
Madam
send either
Chair.
one, you just adjust the microphone that's on.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. I'm not sure if it's necessary for me to recuse, but I think I should also recuse myself of this piece.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone. I am Carlton Moore. I am here to present this project. This is the former CVS drugstore that's located on Madison. It is the owner's desire to reopen this existing building that was previously a CVS drugstore. It has been closed for several years. I think it goes back over 5 years that it has been closed. And currently the building is just one large retail lease space, which was occupied CVS. We are requesting that this space be divided, and there will be 5 retail tenant lease spaces in total. Which will require 4 new storefront openings. The new storefronts will be designed to match the existing elements of the existing storefront entrance. The sill and header heights will match the existing, with the storefront window systems to match the existing materials in both color and texture, and as well as the existing storefront window system that is presently being used there. Replace all of the canvas open-end awnings, and to match the existing to be matched in color and texture. The windows will have clear glazing with aluminum framing to match the existing clear glazing and window framing, aluminum window framings. Changes will occur on the west elevation of this building only. No proposed changes will remain on the existing elevations, but it wasn't a request in our last design meeting that we remove the drive-up window that's on the east elevation, and it is we're going to go along and remove the drive-up window and overhang there, and mainly because that drive-up window is not even. It was a zoning variance that was granted to CVS to have a drive-up window, and we have no desire to have that. We would have to go back before the Board of Zoning Appeals and seek a variance for that. And rather than to seek a variance for a drive-up window, there's no need for it. So we're going to remove that. And there are no proposed changes to the existing site plans other than the recommendations that the staff made in our last meeting.
So you have a remote in front of you, right there, the black button, if you'd like to use the button on the
Do you
side.
mind? Yeah.
Jessica can.
Yeah.
So
I
just-
don't want to mess it up. I see all these buttons here. Oh man, Carl's gonna mess this up.
Yeah, next slide until.
Next slide, please. This is the existing elevation of the CVS drugstore. Next slide. That's showing, this is the west elevation in where the renovations are going to occur, where we're going to open up and have new storefront windows. Next slide. This is the south elevations. There are no proposed changes will be made to that, other than the fact that we're going to remove the awnings there. And we've come up with a color that's acceptable by the committee, previous design review committees. But The awnings will be canvas awnings and they will be open end as well. But our recommendation was made to change the colors of them. I think that orange color is typical of CVS drugstores. Next slide. It's just a perspective image of the south and east elevation. Next slide. That's where, at the rear of the building, that's where the drive-up window is located at, and that's going to come down. We will not be there's no need to have that, and we would need a variance to even have that, so there's no desire. And that was necessary for CVS to accommodate prescription pickups at that window, so it's not needed as tenant lease spaces. It's also was pointed out that no one wants, if it's leased out and it's leased out to a food operation, that they do not want to have a drive-up window at this building. So we're going to make certain that that does not occur by removing it. Next slide, please. This is a perspective showing how we're going to create the new storefront windows. The first bay is existing and will stay. The next 4 bays where you see the 4 storefront entranceways is how we're going to match the sill heights, the header heights. We're going to match the awnings as well. We're using the same storefront window systems and the number of window glazings as the existing building already presently have. We're keeping the same rhythm from the existing to the new design. Next slide. This is an elevation. The top elevation shows the existing west elevation, and we're showing what we're proposing. Sill heights are the same. Header heights are the same. A pair of entrance doors, which will meet code requirement. And we have transit windows above existing storefront window system that matches the transits that are underneath the awnings that you can't see because they're hid by the awnings. But we're matching all windows with the existing first bay and creating 4 new tenant lease spaces there. Also, part of this presentation, we're not presenting the sign package. The sign package will be done by have to be permitted separately, and under our guidance as well. We're not a sign company, but we're letting it be known that we will work with Landmarks department and working to get us the sign package to come in and work with whatever the desires are of the Landmark Committee. So we're not proposing any of the signage at this particular time. That will come under a separate permit and separate review. Next elevation. This is the existing site plan. I just wanted to point out, when CVS built this building, it's obvious that they had to go through an overlay district because they had every element that is currently required under the zoning codes in terms of landscaping, only 1 driveway entrance on West Boulevard, only 1 driveway entrance on Madison. It's adequate parking, there's adequate landscaping there. They've restricted the conflict between pedestrian and car traffic by limiting the driveway entrance points. And they had to do everything that's needed. So there's no need for us to make any changes or revisions to it to accommodate what we're proposing with the new storefronts that we have. It was a recommendation that the landscaping that's bare, new mulching, and to dress it up, clean it up. It hasn't been done in years, but it's been, the landscaping, all of the shrubs are in good shape. It's just the addition of new mulching needs to be done. And it will be done by the new, once we are in the process of doing the storefront. Next elevation. Next slide, please. This is just an elevation drawing showing the heights of the sills, header heights, and the transit heights. And it is our intentions to match all. The existing is above. The new is going to match. No variations or changes to that. Next elevation. just another, shows where the amount of green spaces surrounding this property and where shrubs are located at. It also has a monument fencing that is in good condition and will remain. Just a lot of good elements for the site. And so there's no need to change or upgrade them. Next slide. We can go through this. This is very quickly. This is giving you an indication of the storefront windows that are going to be used, the glazing that's going to be used. Presently on the front, you could go back to the slide. Presently on the first storefront, they have inside blinds on in the first bay of the existing bay. Those will stay, but we will not be repeating that in the 4 new tenant spaces. And so that's why we're showing that. Next slide. This is the company that we're using for the storefront window system, showing how it will be done by the companies that we're contracting, and that's Capital Aluminum and Glass Corporation. They're local in the Cleveland area. Next slide, please. Just showing the different, just a configuration of the window systems that's going to be used. It's matching the existing windows that are presently there. Next slide, please. Next slide. There's no need for this. Just an example of the storefront windows up in the upper right-hand corner where you have a pair of doors and you have transit above, and we have side lighting on each side of it. And the window frames that are available, there's a clear gray tone, a dark bronze, and a white. We're matching the existing glazing. Existing framing by using the gray tone to match the existing storefront. Next slide. Next slide is just another example of the window set from the company. This is an example of the open-end awnings that we presently have, and we will have open-end awnings above the storefronts for the 4 new tenant lease spaces, and it will be made out of canvas material. Next slide. There was a recommendation that we move away. This is just the colors that are available for the awnings, and it was a recommendation from in our design review that we use a burgundy tone or either a dark blue tone, and moving away from it. And a dark blue tone is available. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And there was a recommendation for that the burgundy tone that's on the bottom in the middle as an option for the slides, either a deep blue in color, navy blue in color, or either the burgundy color. And we have no objections to doing that. We're not using the orange that was previously used. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Just more awning colors that are available. Next slide, please. The committee and design review to this, we came up with the color that was recommended. We left it mutually agreed to using what the committee was asking for. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our comments, we will start off with the Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations.
And thank you, Madam Chair. So this project was reviewed by the Historic West Cleveland Design Review Advisory Committee on the 15th. As our applicant mentioned, there was a lot of discussion about the drive-through canopy and how that should be removed from not being used, not planned to be used. Is it allowed? And so that was definitely a concern of the committee. They also did discuss, as our applicant mentioned, the signage plan and how there should be cohesive signage for the building. And that was also discussed at the meeting. Overall, there was just some discussion on what the current color of the storefronts are. Since in some of the pictures it appears white, proposing the anodized metal. The committee was just wanted to make sure it looks consistent when it's completed, and that the building and site could be invigorated, as our applicant mentioned, with refreshing landscaping. And yeah, the colors, they just like to see a darker color. And then recommended like the maroon, burgundy, dark green, and navy. So ultimately, there was a recommendation for the Ocean Service Certificate of Appropriateness with a few conditions. One on the material to match existing, and a note that there are 3 transom windows on the side elevation, not 2 that were shown, and so making sure that that's consistent across the top. And then the color of the storefronts. The awnings replaced with the canvas material in that darker color. That's consistent across the building. The existing drive-through canopy removed, the parking striping studied, and the one-way signage on the building shown, and so to show an accurate site plan to where parking and drive directionals are, and then some notes to work with staff on matching finishes, signage plan, and the considerations for, as our applicant noted, the sign separate submittal, so that there's a coordinated sign master plan for the building, and then a general cleanup of the landscaping and planting beds.
Perfect, thank you. And then landmarks.
Yes, so we did receive a letter this morning from Councilwoman Nikki Hudson.
Okay.
And so I will read it out to you. We did not have time to send that out to you since we got it this morning. So this is our the Councilwoman for Ward 11's letter to the Landmarks Commission. I'm writing you regarding case 25-080, a proposal for subdividing 10022 Madison Avenue, the site of the former CVS store, into 5 separate storefronts. While I support a diversity of retail types, including small storefronts such as the ones proposed, I have concerns about the impact those new storefronts would have on the district because of the decline in brick and mortar retail and uncertainty about the intended tenants. A Class C liquor license was transferred to this location from Abbey Market back in 2024. This shows that the owner's intention is for at least one of the storefronts to be used as a carryout store, selling beer or wine, despite the fact there are already 2 similar stores, also with liquor licenses, within 2 blocks of this location, which is approximately 500 feet from an elementary school. To fully understand the impact of this change and to ensure the highest and best use of the property, a decision shouldn't be made before market analysis or equivalent study is conducted to understand the potential impact a project such as this will have on existing businesses and the district at large. That study should include a summary of the target tenants, ideally with non-binding letters of commitment or interest from them. Although there have been concerns in the past about finding new uses for these medium-sized commercial buildings, many appropriate and beneficial uses have been found, including a Goodwill store, a neighborhood family practice medical clinic, and a grocery store. This proposed strip mall would be located immediately next to Cadell Park, Cadell Rec Center, and Marion Seltzer Elementary School, which presents other issues related to its operation. In my experience with developments like this in other parts of my ward, they often come with garbage and dumping problems, including on neighboring properties. Given the lack of maintenance and attention the owners have shown since purchasing this property, I'm not confident they will keep up with maintaining the building and surrounding area, meaning there could likely be garbage and other debris spilling over into Cadell Park. I ask that the commission take my concerns into consideration when determining whether to issue final approval. Sincerely, Councilwoman Nikki Hudson.
Right, thank you for that.
I was unaware of any of that. Is it possible to get a copy of that? And so that I can get it back to the owner and then let the owners of this property sit down and discuss the concerns of the council person? Yeah. I just got blindsided. I was totally not prepared for any of that, so I don't have a response other than I would like to get a copy of this so that I can get it back to the ownership group and let them work out
Absolutely.
their concerns.
Absolutely. Before we get to our feedback, we're going to do landmark staff recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff largely agrees with local. I think some clarifications are still needed, like the color of the storefront systems and, what's there now versus what's being proposed. Also would like some detail on the flanking elements of the doors in the new storefront systems. I feel like adding those vertical piers throws off the cadence of kind of which windows belong to each storefront. You might be better off having the display windows extend all the way to the doors for each unit. Happy to see that you're amenable to removing the drive-up window and canopy. And then also just regarding the site in general, it's a large parking lot and you're only striping a portion of it. So I think having some plan, I understand that you won't need as much parking as CVS had allotted. But if there's a way to, I don't know, reutilize some of that parking area, or even, add some more spaces, but also add in some, like islands with trees or something to kind of break it up and make it feel a little less like a big sea of asphalt, I think would be appropriate. So those are staff's comments.
I like your suggestions. If I could just get a copy of that, I don't see any reason why the owners would not be amenable to doing that. So just get the recommendations to me and we'll take care of that.
All right, then we'll open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments.
Chair, since this is Nikki Houston ward, and I also wasn't aware of her concerns with this area, and by me being a council, I know this area was a big conversation over the year with the previous council person, so I'm gonna accuse myself for right now, just respectfully to understand more what the councilwoman concerns are. I'm not gonna make any judgment right now. I'm just gonna accuse myself. I know this area and still conflicting. So,
Okay,
all right, thank
excellent.
you.
Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
All right, then we will, Mr. Sandberry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking at the drawings that you have, I don't see any any elevations of the rear, the north elevation, and I assume that's probably where the docking stations for the previous CVS. There's probably a back door area.
I know that I sent the photographs over, but it doesn't seem to be a part of this, what the existing. I didn't see it in there, but I know that I did send over all 4 elevations. We're not like I said, we're not proposing.
Regardless of that,
Yeah.
I assume there's a docking station or
Yes,
some
it
kind
is.
of dumpster area also.
Yes.
And that was for a single tenant use. Will you have a second rear door for deliveries and garbage removal or everything on the?
No, deliveries will be through the main entrance area, and the dumpster, I guess, is that it? You are correct. There is a screen dumpster area in the rear of the building for single use. We will have to expand that so that we have additional dumpsters now that we're changing from 1 tenant to 5 tenants.
So the intent is all deliveries, all trash goes out the front door?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And based on occupancy,
Yes.
you don't need a second?
No,
rear
the square footage of the area the square footage of the tenant lease spaces does not require that we have a second means of egress out of the building. It's less than 150 feet. So it's not required. If you exceed over 150 feet, I believe that's when you have to have that second means of egress out of the building.
So then the openings on the north elevation will just be enclosed where the delivery dock station is and
Yes.
things like that? Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sandberry. Other questions and comments? Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Overall, I think this is, it's a nice building, and I think what the direction you're going is very good. If I can get to a photo of the west elevation. That's it.
Yes.
There is that horizontal band over what will be, I guess, the transom windows.
Yes.
And it mimics the cornice, the top of the building.
Mm-hmm.
My preference would be to slightly lower the awnings so that the horizontal band is exposed. If that's possible.
That is possible. I do believe that band does extend across but it's hidden by the awnings.
Yeah.
Our attempt was to keep the heights of the sills, window heights and awning heights all the same size where it would be consistent with what was already there. But, and I guess to keep that same rhythm of what's going on rather than to have the awnings come down below that band, the stone band that's there.
Well,
And that also will probably require, yeah, I'm not certain that's the best approach. I thought it would be more consistent if we matched the awning heights with what's already on the building on the west elevation as well as what's on south elevation.
are you planning to use the framing for the awnings that are already there?
Yeah, for
That was the plan? You were gonna use the
for the first two, for that first corner
Yes.
and the bay next to it. For the corner, the framing is, the aluminum framing for the awning is in place, is in place, and it doesn't need to be repaired. It's just the back, the canvas awning material that needs to be replaced, and we're bringing in new framing for the new awnings that we're putting in.
Yeah, and appreciate that explanation. I think I like your color choices. I probably am biased towards the navy because I think that'll look nice with the red brick.
Oh, you said navy?
I like your color choices overall for
Yes.
the awnings, but I prefer the navy. I think that'll really look nice with the red brick.
I like it.
Yeah.
I don't have any problems with that. We wanted to have input from the staff in terms of what colors rather than to dictate one. But navy was one of the color choices that they were recommending.
Okay. And, you know, I realize we were, like you say, blindsided, you know, and I think the councilwoman brings up some really legitimate concerns.
They're debatable.
Yeah, well,
Well, anytime someone tells, God, here we go, Carl. Anytime someone tells me that we have too much of something in Cleveland, the only thing we have too much of in Cleveland is vacant buildings, vacant park lots. We don't have too much retail tenant in the city of Cleveland. We do not have enough. We need thriving businesses in the city of Cleveland, whether they are major development or creating opportunities for mom and pop businesses to have a tenant lease space where they can live out their American dream of starting their own business. And when you create a tenant lease space that's at 1,100 square feet or 1,200 square feet, that's affordable for a person who wants to start up their business. So with all due respect, we don't have too much of nothing in Cleveland in terms of individuals trying to open and operate their own businesses. We have too many vacant buildings and too many vacant lots, whether it's retail or whether it's residential.
what, in keeping with that, I just want to make sure that there is enough parking.
Yes.
So that these places are viable.
Yes.
You know, I think we tend to minimize the need for that.
Yes.
And I think it's important that, you know, you're going to have five different
Yes.
businesses in there that, you know,
Yes.
there's adequate parking for the staff, you know,
Mhm.
for the, you know, visitors. These days, I think experiential occupants are probably doing a little better, like coffee shops or, you know, little, you know, place that serves breakfast.
Yes.
Because these days retail is, you know, on the decline. People
Yeah.
order on Amazon and whatnot. So given that, you're going to need, you know, places for people to park.
I agree with you on that.
The couple of issues that the councilwoman brought up, like trash. You know, I live near some convenience stores and trash is a problem.
Yes.
You know, I had a friend that would joke like, you know, you go 3 doors down, you get the candy bar wrapper. You go 5 doors down, you get the chip wrapper, and then you go 8 doors down and you get the can from the pop. So, you know, I don't know if there's a way for cooperation between the business owner and, you know, the community to get regular cleanup to make sure that that's picked up.
Okay.
You know, it shouldn't be on the guy 8 doors and 5 doors and stuff to be picking up this stuff. The other issue I think that needs to be addressed up front is noise. You know, people parking and, you know, blasting sometimes very offensive lyrics, you know, to the whole neighborhood, or even not offensive lyrics, you know, that people will pull up, you know, to these places at, you know, 1 a.m. and, you know, and shake the earth with their vehicle sound system. So I think that's something that, you know, would probably be the kind of thing that she would want addressed. That's my take on it. So those are my comments.
And regarding that, we have plenty of parking on that side, both on the west and east side. But we also have to understand that through the planning department and their desire for overlay districts, that we don't want cars. We want to create an environment where people are walking up. You know, one of the things that the planning department, and I'm not here to speak on the planning department, but I've been working with the city for over 40 years now. And there seems to be within our neighborhoods now that rather than to add more parking is to reduce the parking so that we have a walking community again. And that's part of why they're bringing the buildings to the property line so that we limit the number of driveway and curb cuts so that reduce that conflict of the walking public and the people who are parking. So I'm happy that this building sits at the property line where people can walk to the building. We do have parking on this site. There's plenty of areas for parking on the site, but at the same time, maintaining that walking environment that's important.
I wanted to respond to that. That's all well and good, but, you know, I could see maybe some people walking from Cadell Rec or whatever, but realistically, people drive and people are going to need to park, and the staff is going to need to park. You know, if you have more than one staff person, you know, that all has to be accommodated. You know, regardless of the ideals of city planning, the reality of modern living in snow and rain in Cleveland, you know, that needs to be of utmost consideration.
You're exactly right. That's another thing that always comes up. Everyone thinks about it when the sun is shining, you know, and that the sun, you know, the sun doesn't go down until 9 o'clock. This is not Cleveland. It rains here, it snows here, and people are trying to walk.
Right.
And that weather is.
Yeah, and I'm a walker, but there are times when I'm not walking.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stanberry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think to that point, it looks like you have plenty of parking. I didn't do the parking study or anything like that, but it also does look like, you know, that portion of the building was not intended to have a lot of pedestrian walk, right? So that's intended to get somebody from their car into the building. I may suggest widening that sidewalk.
Is that in front of the building, you mean?
In front of the new proposed openings.
Oh, the sidewalk at the front of the building.
It looks pretty thin. So I think if you're going to have a lot more traffic on that side of the building, I would recommend widening that quite a bit. So
I think that can be done.
And that may even give you opportunity to put, you know, seating outside if it's a cafe or things like that.
I like that.
Kind of liven it up a little bit and give pedestrians a little more space in that space.
Thank
I think you clearly have enough parking for that corner.
You don't mind if I steal your best ideas, do you?
Yeah. Don't worry, I note. All right, thank you, Mr. Stanberry. Other questions and comments mean, I guess I'll go, I'm overall in support of this project. I am very familiar with this. And without having this building unoccupied has been
Yeah.
an eyesore for the area. And I do think it needs retail in this area specifically also. The type of retail though is outside our purview of, comment. We can only talk about the architectural character. So I do have some, comments about the architectural character, but before we, get any further, I want to ask, obviously there was something that was brought forward to you, with the letter from the councilwoman. There's two options. We can continue this conversation and take a vote, or we could table you to allow to address the comments before we vote so that you get alignment with the community. And you can address it with the owner.
I I would like to receive an approval from this committee.
Vote, doesn't mean
A
it's gonna be
vote.
approval.
I would like to-
Am I allowed to speak? One moment, please,
Yeah.
but yes, we can open.
Um,
the
I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I don't know if I can make that decision. I was not aware of what the council person said, and I also know that committee members recused themselves from this. So, at my grown age, I have a tendency to be silly, but I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's almost like I want to phone a friend right now.
Tabling means, do you understand what it means?
Tell me what your tabling means.
What tabling means is that we would suspend the conversation
Mhm.
to allow you to address the feedback that you've received either from us or the councilwoman, and then you to come back in as early as 2 weeks with any refinements to
3 weeks in the site.
3 weeks, sorry. As soon as 2 weeks, but in this reality, 3 weeks to come back and present any adjustments that you may do to address the comments.
I think in this case, that's the best thing. That will give us an opportunity to how soon can I get a copy of the council person's letter?
Through the chair, we could send that out after this meeting.
Yeah, let's get that to me. I will, as soon as I get out as soon as I walk through that door, I'm calling the owner and letting him be aware. And let's table it, and so that we can see if we can work these details out, because her concerns are very legitimate.
Okay.
We need to address those.
Perfect. We appreciate your openness or your approval to a table.
Mhm.
I want to be respectful that you did attend in person. Can you please, you're welcome to come up if you don't mind to the mic and turn it on. If you could announce yourself and no more than 2 minutes and to keep it limited comments.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Hey, my name is Stephanie Thomas. I'm a neighbor at, I own two properties, one at 3265 West Boulevard and the other at 3278 West Boulevard. I'm currently putting a bid on another property that is very close to this site on Madison Avenue. I'm an architect. I went to Pratt Institute and I've worked on hundreds of landmarked projects, historical districts, storefront master plans, the whole nine. Me and other neighbors are just we are across the board against this work. There is a CVS 2 blocks away. This building still looks like a CVS on an historic tree-lined street. There's no proposed interior plans. You can't say you don't need a second means of egress at the back without some sort of interior layout plans. We're trying to reduce automobile traffic on this street specifically. I think a bike lane is planned. It's an historic district next to a park, a church, a school, and a recreation center. So again, just having a store or stores that people have to drive to is problematic. As the council person and Ms. Anderson both said, this style of shopping is in decline, and it's the reason why the CVS sits vacant today. I will also be personally, I don't know how, but what's the right word? Like against the liquor license, we have a serious drinking and alcohol problem. Drug use in this neighborhood. It's the second highest neighborhood for overdose deaths in the whole county. And I have also been in this room before at zoning hearings to oppose any sort of drinking or the sales of drugs at this location next to a school.
Why would you think the owner is gonna sell drugs?
So let's keep this and understand your concern. We'll just
When I hear.
So when I
Down to
say
about 30
drugs,
seconds,
I
ma'am.
I refer to nicotine, vape, THC, and other things. So.
We cannot, I'm sorry.
Correct. Okay,
That's
I'm
what
done.
yes.
Thank you.
So yes, it can't be a discussion. So we appreciate your coming
Thank
in.
you.
We appreciate your comments. But we do want to conclude any additional public comments at this time.
Thank you.
So thank you. Okay. With the discussion, you've heard a lot of the feedback on the architecture from the commission related to the removal of the drive up, the canopy colors, window material, matching existing
Yes.
parking lot improvement plans that should be submitted and looked at based on the feedback of the sidewalk, the entrances, and also consideration from staff related to the material adjacent to the doors being studied, because right now it's a little confusing looking at your exterior elevations.
I'm not, so can we go back to that slide? I'm not following
We
the
can address
confusion
that
because
one
we're
here.
duplicating what's already there.
Which I think it's one approach is to duplicate it. Another one is to, since what you're duplicating didn't have doors incorporated in it, is to study that in a different way so that it minimizes that heavy material in between. Is that what staff was saying?
Yes, yeah, essentially the addition of, I think that's intended to be brick or sandstone element, what, between the doors and the display windows,
We're following, those sandstones are already existing. If you look at the existing west elevation, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are presently there in the building. We're putting our storefront window systems in between those existing elements. We're not building that. It's already there. That's the existing building as it is. Our storefronts go in between the pilasters that are.
yeah, I think staff was concerned with continuing that.
The hand is.
Yeah, that rhythm as you move north on the building, that it might be a better rhythm to just go with, display window system and doors instead of adding that pier element on the 3 storefronts that will require new openings to be punched in the building.
They're already there. We're not adding them. We're only
they're-
adding the windows. The
They're
window
not
system.
there. And the,
Those are already there. No, hold on. Where you had right there, those right there, if you go back up to the upper, those are in between each windows. They're already, they're already there. We're following exactly what was already designed on the building.
I think it's a design interpretation. One is to match existing, or the alternate would be, since the bay's changed, to, provide an alternate where maybe it's 3 windows and then a single
okay.
door and 3 windows in that bay.
Yeah.
To keep it simpler and to unify each bay, I think is what staff was.
Okay, and
alluding to.
I agree with you. I
So,
can see.
right in
At
the
first, I
existing
didn't
bay.
understand, but now that I do understand, we can do that. That's not an issue.
For the 3 bays that you're putting new storefront in, to just clearly denote it. But so just wanted to summarize some of the architectural feedback that I heard. So as you continue to, work through the progress,
Yeah.
we can address everything.
Okay.
But with your permission to table, we're going to take a motion to table you so that it does allow you to come back to us.
Yes.
Here in the next,
That is our desire. And if
you're ready. So I would ask for a motion to table.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to table.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Samberry? We have a motion second. Any further discussion? Not seen any. Mr. Musson, please call the roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Samberry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes by a vote of 6-0 with 4 recusals.
Okay. Well, we look forward to you continuing the conversation with the councilwoman and seeing you back when you are ready.
Yeah, we'll come back, and if I can get your comments that you made on your design features that you were asking for about, we will, all of those things can be done. Just let me get a list of those, and when we come back, we will incorporate the comments that you did make about the building, because they can be done. It's not an issue.
All right.
All right, thank you very
All right.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
That concludes our certificates of approval for today. We will then move on to minutes. There were 2 meeting minutes that were submitted for January 8th, 2026 and January 22nd, 2026. And does anyone have any questions or comments on the meeting minutes, or would someone like to make a motion for approval?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes from January 8th, 2026 and January 22nd, 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Sure. Ms. Anderson, any further discussion? All right, Mr. Musson, please call roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Mr. Samberry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, then we'll move on to administrative reports.
Nothing to report at the moment, other than we've received the City of Cleveland Food Drive Harvest for Hunger cards, so I can pass these out. For those of you online, I can scan and copy those to you. If you just want to return them at your earliest convenience, that would be appreciated.
All right, excellent. Then I think that is it for today, and we'll adjourn today's meeting and see everyone in 3 weeks at our next meeting on May 14th. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.